From the moment you are born, you enter not a world, but a program. This program doesn't offer a free life, as most people believe. Rather, it's invisible software that pushes you toward a specific role necessary for the functioning of society. It gives the feeling of freedom, but it sets limits. It gives the impression of choice, but it dictates options. It teaches you to think, but it doesn't make you aware of the rules that determine how you should think. That's why most people spend their lives not with a free, strategic, and independent mind like a hunter, but with a mind that follows a line, waits for permission, and fears making mistakes. From childhood, instead of asking questions that would allow you to think originally, you are raised with commands like, "Don't do that," "Don't think like that," "Don't question," "Forget the risk," "What will others say?" These commands may not be given consciously, but they are still deeply ingrained in your mind. Years pass, and before you know it, you become a pawn in someone else's game. This isn't a mistake. It's what the system needs to work: controlled, predictable, easily manageable people. But the real players are on a completely different level. Their rules aren't the same because their eyes see the rules differently. While you wait your turn, they question why the turn exists. While you fear breaking the rules, they wonder who wrote them. While you wait for the right moment, they try to bend time itself. You say no. They investigate, how is this possible? That's why they move, and you watch. That's why they create opportunities, and you wait for them to come. That's why they run the game, and you are guided within it. This isn't an instruction. This isn't a coincidence. This is a completely designed system. The system doesn't take away your freedom by constantly keeping you under a safety net. On the contrary, it places you in a comfortable position where you cannot exercise your freedom. The comfort zone is actually a cage, but because its walls are soft, most people don't realize it. The boundaries you perceive as real are actually just boundaries you're used to. This framework drawn by society is like an invisible fence that limits your potential. The moment you start asking questions, you realize the fence isn't real. This is where true freedom begins, recognizing the mental program. Once you become aware of the program, two important changes begin. 1. You see that the rules aren't immutable. Every rule is written for someone's benefit, not yours. 2. You realize the boundaries aren't real. Most boundaries are just collective belief. If you don't believe in them, they lose their power. And at that moment, the direction of the game changes. You are no longer a pawn. You begin to see the game board. You will understand what it means to make a move. A programmed world can only rule those who don't question. From the moment you begin to question, the power to write your own game is born. You are no longer living a life planned by others. You are now building a reality of your own design. This is where the true hunter mentality begins. Because hunters don't follow the rules. They make the rules visible, analyze them, break them, rewrite them. With this awareness, you don't just become awakened. You become a flawless, conscious, independent player. Chapter 2. The mind naturally seeks order and process. Because logic likes to see how something develops step by step. This provides a sense of predictability, control, and security. But quantum reality operates outside of this logic. Quantum collapse, the transformation of a possibility into a single reality, is not gradual. Something is either in superposition or it becomes certain in an instant. There is no intermediate state. Believing that manifestation requires a process is actually spreading out over time what should manifest instantly. So the moment you believe in the concept of process, you unconsciously create a process. But belief is not necessary for manifestation to occur. In fact, overthinking often delays the instantaneous. The fifth way time hinders manifestation is planning. The moment you think about how something will happen, what steps it needs to take, your consciousness compresses the quantum field, which carries infinite possibilities into a single narrow path. When you say, "This is how it will be," the field operates precisely along this limited path you have drawn. Thus, instead of infinite possibilities, you confine yourself to a framework you have created. This limitation isn't your fault, because from the moment you're born, you're programmed to think within the framework of the concept of time. Schools, society, language, even daily life is built on time. Plans, appointments, processes, the past, present, future distinction. Your mind has learned to work according to time, and therefore, grasping that manifestation is a timeless event seems almost impossible at first. But consider dreams. In dreams, time flows differently. You experience years and minutes, past and future intertwine. Something happens the moment you think it. Because in a dream state, consciousness relaxes. The concept of time dissolves. There is no waiting, planning, or following. There is only now. And this now is the center of creation. What we do is bring this timeless consciousness from dreams to waking awareness. Not to make life like a dream, but to consciously experience the quantum reality that dreams naturally reach. Because manifestation happens not in time, but outside of time, in the present moment. And there are some signs that indicate time is beginning to disappear. 1. Instantaneous realization. 1. What you want happens exactly on the day you want it. This is not a coincidence. It is the result of the disappearance of the temporal gap. 2. The shortening of time. What you said would take months becomes weeks, and what you said would take weeks becomes days. Because when you stop thinking about the timeline, the speed of occurrence increases. 3. The disruption of order. Effect precedes cause. Events deviate from logical order. This is not chaos. It is the natural quantum workings that emerge when the concept of time is dissolved. 4. The transformation of the past. When you look at certain events, you realize that what has changed is not your memory, but the way reality is perceived. Quantumly, the past is not static. It is reshaped by observation. 5. Knowing the future. You know what will happen before the event occurs. Not a guess. Direct awareness. Because you feel that the future already exists in a state of superposition. 6. The expansion of the moment. The present moment no longer appears as a narrow line, but as a wider, deeper, more timeless space. Time dissolves, becomes transparent. 7. Effortless manifestation. No approval, technique, or effort is required. You simply desire something, and it appears naturally. Because the distance between desire and possession disappears. Wanting and possessing happen simultaneously. 8. Reading this text. If these lines resonate within you as you read them, it is no coincidence. This is a sign that your consciousness is beginning to shift from time to timelessness. The real obstacle is not time. It is confusing time with reality. And the moment you let go of that, manifestation becomes instantly easier. Chapter 3. Dissolution is happening because you are beginning to realize that what you thought would exist in the future is not actually future-related, but merely existing potentials separated by the concept of time. In other words, manifestation is not something that will happen one day. It is a capacity already accessible in the present. List the symptoms you are experiencing in the comments. Is this a momentary awareness, a distortion of time perception, or an expansion of the present? This awareness creates a shift at the level of consciousness. It acts like an affirmation that balances the frequency. It sends this message to the mind and space. I am stepping outside the realm of time. I am accessing a timeless dimension. Instead of asking, when will it happen? When you begin to approach your goals with a consciousness as if they are happening right now, you break the waiting cycle conditioned by the mind. Because manifestation is not actually a process that accumulates along a timeline. True creation happens outside of time, and the mind turns it into a story retrospectively. That's why, when something happens, you feel like it happened at exactly the right moment, because that moment already existed at a level of consciousness beyond your perception of time. Timeless moment, eternal. Now this now is not a simple philosophical concept. In neuroscience, it is called the high level of attention, and in quantum physics, the field of simultaneous potentials. This field shows that the past and the future are not separate regions, but images appearing on the same screen of consciousness. Just like a cinema screen unaffected by the film, consciousness does not pass through time. Time passes through consciousness. When you think about past memories, imagine the future, or live in the present moment, these are all contents that consciousness carries simultaneously. Even if you travel through time mentally, this journey takes place in the present moment. Therefore, breaking away from the present moment is actually impossible. Quantum and observation. In quantum mechanics, a possibility exists both realized and unrealized until an observation is made. This state of superposition also applies to your desires. These are not things that will happen one day. These are potentials that you haven't yet noticed because you've postponed observation to the future. If you simultaneously think about your desire and ask, when will it happen? That's where the contradiction arises. It's like giving two different instructions to the quantum field. Let it happen now. But let it happen when the time is right. This contradiction keeps the field fixed. That's why you feel that what you're waiting for is delayed, because it's your thoughts about time that create the delay. Why does sudden realization occur? Consider things that happen suddenly in your life. Most likely, at that moment. You weren't thinking about when it would happen. You weren't forcing the outcome. You weren't stuck in the waiting process. Mental resistance had completely disappeared. This letting go state is, neuroscientifically, a decrease in prefrontal control. That is, the deactivation of the overthinking area. And at that very moment, the probabilities collapse. Manifestation occurs. This happens not because you waited long enough, but because the thought of time has been deactivated. What does superposition really mean? Right now, There are countless waves of possibility in which everything you desire exists. In some realities, you have that thing. In some realities, you don't. Which wave becomes your experience depends on the level of consciousness. Thought of time creates separation, pushes desire into the future. Timeless awareness eliminates separation, pulls desire into the present. Because separation is only possible with the thought of time. When time disappears, so does separation. Experiencing timelessness is easy. It doesn't require complicated techniques as is often thought. Not meditation, ritual, or months of repetition. Just these two things. Stop thinking about when it will happen. Feel the desire as if it exists now, not in the future. That's all. These two steps shift consciousness to timeless awareness, and the quantum field naturally collapses. First, experience. A scientific perspective. 4 years ago, I experienced this by chance. In a moment of crisis, my mind was completely focused on the present moment. None of this mattered. There was no planning. There was no thinking about how long it would last. There was no expectation of an outcome. There was only pure, intense awareness. And at that moment, changes happened so quickly that it was inexplicable by logic. Things that had been waiting for years happened in hours. The essence of this seemingly miracle was this: the crisis had forced me to do it. Chapter 4. What accelerated the outcome wasn't forcing events, but removing the pressure of time. When I stopped thinking about when something will happen, my mind stopped constantly looking to the future. My attention shifted to the present moment, the realm of action and interaction. This changed both my behavior, my relationship with my environment, and the opportunities I could perceive. And I realized, while physical reality always unfolds within a specific time frame, internal transformation is instantaneous. Because internal change happens instantly, external reality also rapidly begins to organize itself toward this new internal state. When I let go of my attachment to the timeline in my mind, results usually came the same day, sometimes within a few days. And this was much faster than what is normally logically possible. The most important thing I learned from my experiments was this: the magnitude or complexity of the manifestation doesn't determine its speed. The only thing that determines the speed is the time gap one creates in their mind. The larger the mental time gap, the further away the result becomes. When the mental gap disappears, the result emerges much faster. This doesn't stem from the quantum field distinguishing between easy and difficult possibilities. It stems from consciousness constructing a narrative about the future around every desire. I wish someone had told me this years ago. I wouldn't have spent years on techniques that create dependency on the future under the guise of patience, unnecessarily prolonging time. Instead of lengthy visualizations of the future, I would have realized this: every visualization made while thinking about the future is a command to hold the desire in the future. Similarly, the practice of waiting patiently eventually reinforces the belief that time is necessary. And if the mind believes this, time truly becomes necessary. Your path doesn't have to involve these complex cycles that dragged on for years like mine. You can directly benefit from my tests, my mistakes, my observations. The basic mechanism is surprisingly simple: timeless observation. Feeling something not as something that will happen in the future, but as a state that potentially exists in the present moment. This is not self-deception. It is accepting the fact that, at the quantum level, all possibilities exist simultaneously in a potential state. Physical reality is shaped by which of these potentials you connect with through consciousness and behavior. Therefore, the moment you stop thinking about when it will happen, the moment you feel the desire as if it were present in the present moment, the moment your mind stops creating a time gap, the collapse at the quantum level, that is, the actual act of creation, occurs. Physical realization may take hours, days, or weeks, but the creation itself happens the moment the mind lets go of time. Now that you understand this mechanism, the real question becomes practical. How can you maintain this timeless state? The key points for this are: 1. Recognizing the thought of time. When will it happen? How much time is left? Why hasn't it happened yet? The moment you grasp these kinds of thoughts, timelessness disappears. 2. Replacing the thought of time with present moment awareness. The moment you become aware of the thought, bring yourself back to the present moment. 3. Anchoring the present moment with bodily sensations. Breath, body, senses. The mind can go to the past or the future, but the body is always in the present. This creates a powerful anchor for consciousness. 4. Questioning the belief that great things take longer. This is not a true law of physics. It is a mental habit. At the quantum level, there is no such thing as complexity, only a change in order. 5. Celebrating rapid manifestations instead of belittling them. Saying coincidence is the mind's attempt to cling to old beliefs. Every rapid awareness is proof that time is actually optional. 6. Making demands with a sense of completeness. Saying, "I will be complete when it arrives," creates a void in the future. Saying, "I am now complete, but I can experience this too," closes the time gap. 7. Trusting quantum potential instead of physical reality. Just because something isn't physically visible right now doesn't mean it's missing. Physical reality begins to change the moment consciousness stops producing time gaps. These principles aren't a technique. They are a new way of approaching reality. Consciousness that sees time as an obstacle naturally creates waiting. Consciousness that sees time as a mental construct accelerates creation. And this difference fundamentally changes the experience of life. Chapter 5. When interacting with a time-based society, you consciously choose to use its rules. You don't try to teach people timeless awareness. You don't fight the system. Instead, you develop a fluid transition between two states of consciousness: timeless existence, your base state, and time-based consciousness, the tool you use. This transition is similar to speaking another language. Timelessness is your primary language. Time is your secondary language, which you speak fluently when needed. Therefore, you set reminders for appointments even if you aren't strictly bound to them, because time isn't a necessity for you, but a common point of reference used to communicate with others. Appointments seem arbitrary because they actually are. It's a common agreement among people who believe time is real. You adhere to deadlines, but you know they are actually optional. Yet these agreements encourage cooperation, so participating in them is beneficial. This isn't about escaping time structures. It's about establishing a free relationship with them. Time doesn't imprison you, but it also doesn't become a burden, preventing you from adapting to time when needed. This flexibility is the gateway that connects you simultaneously to timeless consciousness and practical functioning. The new challenge, arising from instantaneous manifestation, knowing what you want. At this stage, manifestation accelerates so much that a new challenge arises. Something can appear before you the moment you think of it. This is as dangerous as it is wonderful, because without knowing the difference between instantaneous impulses and true desires, your thoughts can summon even things you don't want. Therefore, clarity is essential. Where consciousness focuses, creation occurs in that direction. That's why you must learn to distinguish between the random thoughts swirling in your mind and your true desires. As the perception of time dissolves, instantaneous feedback increases. This sharpens inner clarity. It took me 3 years to integrate my perception of time. And even today, I experience days when time completely disappears. Days when I didn't notice how the hours passed. Sometimes minutes seem to flow like eternity. These days, because time no longer works automatically in my mind, I sometimes miss appointments. But this isn't a mistake. I no longer force time. I cooperate with it. I use calendars, alarms, reminders, not because I care about time, but because I know others care and I want to keep my promises. Instead of resisting this process, adapting to it, learning to be gentle, even in vulnerability, facilitates integration. Fluidization. Between two worlds. This transition phase is not chaos. It is a necessary period for creating a new consciousness. You don't completely abandon time. You learn to use it as a conscious tool without being its slave. As a result, you are stable in timeless existence. You are functional in the time-based world. You possess a natural bilingualism that allows you to switch between two languages. That is, you are both fully present in the moment and able to arrive on time for your appointments. This isn't achieved through discipline. It becomes possible through the integration of this new awareness into practical life. A paradigm shift at the collective level. This isn't just a personal experience. Millions of people are awakening to the same awareness. The old paradigm, time-bound growth, future plans, lessons learned from the past, is losing its function. Because this paradigm was based on a belief that time is real, and this belief is dissolving. Not because it's wrong, because it's limited. Time isn't the only way to experience reality. As quantum physicists say, time isn't a fundamental reality. It's the way consciousness experiences it. David Bohm's concept of implicit order perfectly explains this. All moments already exist now. What we call time is an illusion created by the mind, like a film, a transition between frames that already exist. As more people become aware of this, the collective experience of time is changing. Linear time is becoming optional. The infinite moment is becoming more accessible to everyone. You are using the path opened by those who awoke before you. That's why your path is faster and smoother. And with each timeless creation, you are making the path easier for others. Your experience strengthens the morphic field. When you manifest instantly, what is possible for others expands. Timeless awareness radiates a collective frequency. Anyone who is ready can more easily attune to this frequency. Chapter 6. Humanity is now ready to transition to a timeless level of consciousness where time is not limited by a linear flow. Creation occurs instantly, and the past and future are simultaneously accessible. This is not merely a mystical idea. It is a transformation with enormous practical consequences. When the mind's relationship with time changes, so does reality. The major problems threatening the world today, climate change, resource crises, societal collapse, cannot be solved with time-based thinking, because this thinking believes that recovery will take years. But when enough people have transitioned from time-bound consciousness to timeless awareness, collective observation begins to collide with different waves of possibility. Reality reacts. Instantaneous transformation becomes possible, not gradual change. You are part of this pioneering group, not because you are special, but because you are ready. While most people still live waiting for time, you are beginning to realize the power of now. Most people think they are living in the present moment, but their minds are actually preoccupied with the past and the future. You, however, are increasingly settling not outside of the present, but inside, within the infinite present. Every moment, you are essentially time traveling. And the purpose of this journey is to be an example not only to yourself, but also to the collective. Every momentary manifestation you experience adds power to the collective consciousness field, the morphic field. As you gain awareness, others can feel it too. When you need to share this teaching, you do so without trying to convince anyone. You simply offer recognition, because those who are ready will recognize it through resonance the moment they hear it. Those who are not ready will reject it, and this is perfectly natural. Your task is not to teach, it is to embody the manifestation. The quantum field allows each individual to receive the information they need at the exact moment they are ready. If a person feels a deep echo in these words, that person has already reached the threshold of liberation from time consciousness. Otherwise, they would feel nothing. And here comes the great awareness. Creation is instantaneous. Sometimes you experience instantaneous manifestations in your life. You think something, and it happens instantly. Most people see this as a coincidence, but at some point, this experience presents you with a choice. Are these instantaneous manifestations merely exceptional miracles? Or are they the natural flow of your life? The answer to this question doesn't come from techniques, methods, or rituals. It comes simply from existence. Before thought, before time, before any belief, before existing consciousness. If you experience an instantaneous manifestation and something inside you says, "This is normal," then the door to choice has opened. This choice is a shift in identity. From the identity of, "I am someone who sometimes experiences instantaneous manifestations," to the identity of, "I create timelessly." And this identity determines how reality will react to you. So why can't most people make this choice? Because time provides a very strong safety net. Time creates a buffer zone to change your mind, to avoid, to escape responsibility, to create an excuse for preparation. But there is no such buffer zone in instantaneous creation. What you focus on manifests instantly. That's why the mind is afraid. Because when a person doesn't know what they truly want, instantaneous creation seems dangerous to them. Ancient alchemists said that when a seeker reaches this point, they have reached the moment of commitment. This is not a metaphor. This is a real choice. Do you choose the security of time or the power of timelessness? Most people choose security. That's why many teachings don't teach true instantaneous manifestation. They only teach slow, step-by-step development because students cannot handle this power, because someone who can manifest instantly no longer has any excuses, no justifications, no stories of victimization remain. The responsibility for the truth rests entirely with them. And here's the key point. You are ready. Even the fact that you are reading this text is proof of this, because someone who is not truly ready will mentally reject this information and cannot move forward. But someone who is ready learns, expands, and transforms without even realizing it. The power of instant manifestation is not to create chaos. It is to help you understand much more clearly what you want to create. Rapid feedback reveals the essence of desire. As you progress along this path, focus transforms into mastery, because when delay disappears, focus equals creation. This is the true gateway to timeless consciousness. Chapter 7. The quantum level precedes physical reality. The moment you observe something for the first time in the quantum realm, physical reality becomes its natural continuation. If the thought of time doesn't intervene, this transformation happens without delay. You just need to maintain your feelings, the full, pure, complete awareness of the present moment, for at least 30 seconds. During those 30 seconds, don't even think about when, how, or in what way it will happen. That's the only factor that slows down the process. Just focus on the state of possession, the feeling of knowing it belongs to you right now. Notice that your desire exists in the quantum realm, and that you are now seeing it in your own experience. Then let it go. Completely. Stop thinking. Stop wondering when it will happen. Stop watching. Because the quantum collapse has only just begun. The manifestation is complete at the quantum level. Quantum mechanics doesn't need your belief to work. It just works. If the idea of time isn't reactivated, the result in physical reality will manifest today or in the near future. The aim here is not merely to believe in the theory, but to provide a real-time, concrete test. Be attentive in the coming hours. Watch how the event unfolds. And as soon as it begins, understand this. This is not a coincidence. This is the result of instantaneous creation. This experience proves two things. Manifestation occurs not through a time sequence, but from the eternal present moment. The only thing that causes delay is not observing it and thinking about time. The speed of this change can vary among people. Some experience it in minutes, some in hours, and some at the end of the day. This difference is not because quantum mechanics works completely differently, but simply an indication of how quickly the thought of time is reactivated after the initial observation. The more you relinquish the concept of time, the more you observe your desire and then forget about it, the faster the result comes. There are many questions, such as, when will it happen? And how will it happen? If you think about it, the creative field becomes time again, and physical reality lags behind accordingly. When the result occurs, record it. This is both a confirmation for you and strengthens the timeless field of collective consciousness by showing others that instantaneous manifestation is possible. When it manifests instantly, a fixed pattern forms in your brain. This is possible, and I can repeat it. This is the first step. It has no end. It is the beginning. For lasting instantaneous manifestation, timeless consciousness must become the default regime, not the exception. This happens through experience. By letting go of the thought of time, getting closer to it each time. By proving the mechanism with small manifestations and moving on to larger desires. By separating from the successive timeline and learning to live in the eternal present moment. At this point, the quantum reflex occurs. Consciousness intrinsically realizes that time is a choice and creation begins immediately. The eternal present moment is where all possibilities exist. The quantum field responds to observation, not to observation itself. The timeline is merely a pattern created by consciousness. My creation is independent of it. The manifestation you will experience today will be a turning point for you. As you see the results, your feelings will change over time. Don't watch. You'll realize it's not necessary at all. Everything becomes simpler the moment the idea of time for manifestation recedes into the background. In fact, ridiculously simple. When consciousness is not stuck on the concept of what will happen next, the ability to create instantly emerges. Time is optional. Manifestation is instantaneous. Creation always begins now. You prove this not through belief, hope, or faith, but through direct experience. Welcome to timeless consciousness. Welcome to the true processing mechanics of instantaneous creation. Welcome to the reality of the infinite moment. Everything you desire is now present. You just need to set aside the thought of time and see it with your own eyes. This is you. This is happening right now. This is quantum manifestation. Simple, instantaneous, effortless. As long as the thought of time doesn't interfere. Test complete. Manifestation is now on its way. Time has been proven to be optional. Activated immediately. Chapter 8. From the outside, life seems complicated. Choices, coincidences, opportunities, and obstacles appear intertwined. But when you look behind the scenes, it becomes clear that this complexity is not random. The system operates with an invisible mechanism to keep the vast majority of people in the same mold. From education to work life, from relationships to your daily decisions, every structure has a common purpose: to make you predictable, controllable, and manageable. Most people are unaware of this, because this mechanism doesn't shout. It whispers. Slowly, without you even realizing it, it pulls you into its rhythm. Find a job. Wait for your paycheck. Wait for an opportunity. Wait your turn. It will happen when the time comes, they say. But that time never comes. It's as if the rhythm of life flows not for you, but for the system's own internal design. This is not a coincidence. It is design. However, true players realize early how this mechanism works. What rules the world is not raw power or luck. It is knowledge, awareness, and the ability to see the structure of the game. When an ordinary person encounters an obstacle, they stop. They know that the obstacle might actually be a hidden door. The average person accepts this and says, "That's just how it is." They ask, "Who did this and why?" And the most critical point is this: understanding the mechanism doesn't mean you have to submit to it. On the contrary, the moment you see how the mechanism works, you gain the power to build your own system. Choices are no longer made merely to react, but to consciously create. Every decision becomes part of a scenario you create yourself, not a random outcome. Ask yourself this question: were all the choices I've made throughout my life my own choices, or did I follow a predetermined roadmap? When you honestly answer this question, the chain begins to loosen for the first time. Now your awareness opens a window. The rules, limitations, and expectations imposed on you from the outside become structures that can be changed by your own choice. The real power lies not in following the program, but in seeing the program and rewriting it when necessary. The hunter mentality wants you to do exactly that, to live what you choose, not what the world puts in front of you. And remember, recognizing the mechanism isn't just a mental grasp. It begins to transform your behaviors, reactions, and choices in every area of your life. Work, relationships, money, health. Nothing is left to chance anymore. You are writing the rules of the game now. You begin to understand the mechanism. Once you realize this, you can never act the same way again. Old patterns become alien to you. Old patient waiting seems like an unnecessary habit. Because you have now experienced that time is not a necessity imposed by the system, but entirely optional. At this point, you can move on to the next stage, managing your own creation with timeless consciousness. You realize that everything can manifest instantly, without waiting, planning, or being bound by timelines. You have seen the mechanism. Now you can turn it to your advantage.